Good morning all. It's Matthew from A2K. First of all, I want to welcome you all here this morning to talk about our partnership with EngWorks. We're going to be going through some topics this morning on what this partnership means to the manufacturers. We're also going through who is EngWorks. We're going to go we'll go through the workflows as well. Talk about content on demand. And obviously through this partnership with EngWorks gives us a good, clear structure around our global content strategy as well. And obviously, more importantly, go through our roadmap going forward. Any questions throughout the presentation, please email through. We'll definitely get back to you all. I've been working with EngWorks now for we're talking to them for about 12 months now, and it's really exciting. It's about time we sort of change our strategy from a maintenance to a subscription, and to give some more value to our manufacturers around reporting, etc. So I believe EngWorks is a good partnership to be with, not even just within Australia, but globally as well for our global manufacturers. To start this the presentation, I want to hand over to Chad now. He will start the presentation off. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. My name's Chad Smith. I'm a consulting technical lead at A2K. Prior to my time here at A2K and speaking as a former Revit project designer and early industry adopter of products like Revit, I can certainly attest to the challenges of creating and obtaining content for my project requirements back in the day. Sourcing online content was few and far between, with most manufacturers not knowing what Revit was or even having heard of the now omnipresent term BIM. And as a small design firm, finding the time to create content meant taking valuable time away from the design process. The result was a somewhat incomplete content library that required constant attention. Those days were mostly a one-way street, with the appetite of designers seeking relevant manufacturers' content. Now, moving forward to the current day, industry designers and manufacturers have certainly expanded their awareness of BIM through broader understandings of project requirements and deliverables, and an increased adoption rate. However, both BPMs and consumers are still largely playing catch up to industry expectations. Yes, there are small pockets of excellence that are addressing niche markets with recognition of industry bodies like the Australian Air Conditioning Mechanical Contractors Association and their BIMAP Oz initiative that addresses the use of content from design through to fabrication. But that is just one example. All throughout our industry and across all disciplines, content is not only required, but expected to be serviceable across all project stages by meeting contractual obligations in BIM execution plans, being leveraged during estimation and fabrication, and in some cases, finishing up as assets for building management and maintenance, to name a few. As we start the new decade, the industry not only wants elements that produce a model and documentation, but there is also the expectation that the content will assist the designer with actionable design insights. New design methods such as generative design does just that. Through the use of intelligent content and in conjunction with design product add-ons, BPMs will now be able to provide unprecedented value to the consumer's design process. And let's not forget how BPMs make their content available to the consumer for easy access into their projects. As the world continues to be more global, ensuring that BPM content is available in different regions has never been more important. And not only that the content is made available in a way that meets regional and discipline-focused standards. The end game of content has never been about generating just 2D drawings and 3D models. Rather, it's about transcending into a pivotal part of the delivery process that addresses many of the outstanding industry challenges, thereby opening new opportunities for BPMs. As you'll see in the remainder of this presentation, there is much more room for improvement, and the partnership between A2K Technologies and EngWorks will start paving new ground as we move forward into the next decade. I'll now hand this over to Mike from EngWorks.
Thank you, Chad. Good morning, everyone. I thought I would just share a little about myself and EngWorks before we get into the meat of the presentation. And but prior to my role as Vice President of Global Business Development here at EngWorks, the majority of my career has served the commercial building product manufacturer community. And EngWorks has been a pioneer in that field since 2003. And I've had a relationship with EngWorks for many years. I was helping manufacturers develop Revit libraries, implementing strategies to leverage the many different technology platforms, portal vendors and tools for both local and international markets. And after my early career in project data and analytics at Construction Market Data in 2005, I was part of building the first North America BIM content portal called BIMworld. And it was, of course, primarily focused on the creation, management, and distribution of manufacturer-specific Revit content, much of which EngWorks has helped build along the way as a premier Autodesk partner for content creation services. And as you see, 30 years of delivering this technology and design services. Through this journey, I soon became, BIMworld became the foundation of the Autodesk Seek content platform when we were acquired in 2008. And after that tenure at Autodesk, I left and co-founded a company called Global Product Data, a small software company, developed a tool called Product Tag, which you'll learn a little bit about later. It's just an in-application workflow tool that allows users to update and add external manufacturer product data directly into BIM content. And through this journey with EngWorks, because EngWorks is a user, an engineering firm, as well as a content creator, they have become a thought leader in fabrication, coordination services, BIM execution plans, with their portfolio of manufacturer clients that you see below is a fraction of the global manufacturers that we've served over the years. And so as Chad mentioned earlier, you, the building product manufacturer, as the owner of this much needed product data, there is a need to adapt the digital marketing strategies of today to deliver a much higher quality BIM-ready content product set to serve the community, the new tools and processes, not just in design, but also into fabrication and construction. And with mechanical engineering and plumbing, that is obviously a very key part of the construction life cycle. And so with that, we really wanted to create a new way of thinking about how to deliver manufacturer content, technical content. As you know, with BIM, it's a workflow, it's not a tool. And so Revit is just one of the components and assets that's within a portfolio. But we wanted you to feel that we understand the end user. And frankly, through the research, through the years of working with these large manufacturers, these large firms, it's really not about just developing content. It's about the ability to have it available and accessible to the end user community with embedded product data within their workflow. Those workflows would be Revit, Bentley, PlanGrid, BIM 360, and many, ArchiCAD, Vectorworks. The list goes on and on and on of applications that now these end users don't really care where the product comes from, the data comes from. They want it in their workflows. And consequently, through the roles that we've had over the years, the value to the building product manufacturer, our clients, is to help position your brand and your product data in front of this wide audience at the right time, at the right place, throughout the whole construction life cycle. As you know, product data from MSDS sheets and warranties is very different from a Revit geometry. But it's all used and consumed throughout the workflow And trying to manage that content, trying to manage it in different locations, trying to put it in different hosting environments, trying to update it, manage it, it's become, very unwieldy, as you all know. And so because of the relationship and partnership that we have with A2K, we believe it's time to start thinking about how to retool your current content marketing strategy toward a more comprehensive digital strategy, one that we can help you with. It's really driven, of course, by the BIM community. We all know the Amazon effect and the ability to access content anywhere in the world at any time. And analytics is an important part of that, being able to provide you the insights and the knowledge about product usage from a new generation of professionals. And so, piggybacking off of what Chad has mentioned, we want to take the lead from the BIMMEP approach to content creation and distribution. We've done a very good job at consolidating repetitive tasks and providing this standardized set of parameters that the engineering community of Australia has used and consumed and helps with their workflow. But we want to then extend that thinking into the architectural products and throughout the life cycle. So we're moving into what we call adaptive content, where we can take not only the native files built by somebody like EdgeWorks to then also add external product sets, augment the data for use cases. A file used in facilities management is going to be a completely different use case than one used in design for visualization. But there is no need to necessarily make 4 or 5 different versions of that. Of course, internationally, there's metric and imperial, there's classifications, the standards that we use, the formats we use a lot, Omniclass, Uniclass, but there's others. And these all need to serve local markets and have multi-language support. And it has been a huge challenge for manufacturers to support those local markets with local codes, local users, local projects, but maybe have the design done somewhere else in the world. And so we have embarked on providing some tools and services to help expand the opportunity to reach into those communities, those markets, with the partnership of EdgeWorks and A2K. And part of the added value proposition, which you'll learn more about in the weeks to come, is the combination of the adaptive content, utilizing product tag to be able to add external data sets from your manufacturer's websites and actually update content directly within the application and adding to the productivity of that workflow. One of the ways that we feel that we can help the productivity for everybody is a tool set that we're going to be releasing hanging off of A2K's website called Content on Demand. Simple in its name, exactly what it does. Many times there is a design firm, engineering firm that requires a specific piece of content. There is a new product that you have that you want to push out into the marketplace. Historically, you've picked up the phone, you sent an email, it's gone through a cycle of quoting back and forth, very manual, very linear, and it's obviously very difficult to manage at a macro level those kinds of demands, one-offs. However, the reality is that when that design firm has a project, has a need, it's important to be able to serve that user because of the new generation of users expect the service and they expect it of you every time. And so we are putting together, EdgeWorks and A2K are the founders of the Global Content Network to provide a service called Content on Demand. And it is an automating quoting process, and it provides the ability for you to put the requirements in, create the request, quote comes back, you approve, disapprove, make changes, commitments to deadlines, commitments to pricing, and it doesn't really matter if it is a product that you need for a different geolocation, a multi-language, or just within the Australian market, New Zealand marketplace. This will be a workflow driven through the A2K web portal, and you can be assured of the service. Multi-format content creation, very important. When you think about design firms, with Archicad is a perfect example. And There's many projects where the contractor demands it, owner demands it, but it's very few and far between, but it's important. And so in the need to have content created in ArcCAD, maybe Bentley, maybe CAD MEP, we have this expertise to be able to serve that through this workflow mechanism called Content on Demand. You own the models, always will, and that's important. So if you want that model to be redistributed back onto your website, back into portals, you absolutely have the ability to do that through the creation process. And of course, quality is key. And that's one of the hardest things to do at a global level with a local market. And that is what you can be assured of. EngineWorks is an internationally recognized company for that quality. It is why some of the largest owners in the world are utilizing EngineWorks as an engineering service, as well as obviously the content creation of some of these largest manufacturers. And it's careful consideration given to the development of all the models. And we ensure they behave correctly in each application. We do not reuse other people's content. We always build the content natively and from the product data that is provided. And we will meet the standards and codes that are necessary for that particular product. The end user expertise is critical. As I've mentioned, users creating content for users. EngineWorks is a user of its own content as well. So you can be confident that when it's created, it would meet the demands of your application and workflows for analysis, visualization, connectivity, performance, all the way through from design to construction. And then most importantly, we feel that localization is key. It's not unusual, obviously, to have many large manufacturers, multinational corporations, have offices all around the world and delivering multiple different libraries and local people making the content. And we believe that we now have an opportunity to begin to rationalize those libraries, bring under one umbrella the ability for manufacturers, if they do have these global needs at a local level, we have the ability to support that with the EngineWorks and A2K Global Alliance, because of course, as part of A2K's strategy globally, it is working with resellers in other markets, and we have the ability to tap into those. So the Global Content Network, is frankly a network of content providers, distribution services focused on supporting the creation of delivery of high quality content for the AECO community, specifically for the building product manufacturers to engage with. And it's based on project specific requirements. We have global modeling standards, distribution standards. And so instead of you trying to hunt down potentially some firm to do a piece of content in a particular type of rushed manner, all you have to do is access the GCN through the A2K EngineWorks Alliance, and we will be able to supply that piece of content for you for just a particular one-off piece, or maybe 100 pieces. That is how we're able to scale. We are currently developing the hub. It's going to coordinate the project management delivery. We will be easing into this. We will be coming back, presenting to you, talking to you. This is part of just the beginning of the journey that Chad was mentioning. And so when you think about where everybody is today, there is design content, there's BIM-MEP. You're very familiar with those. They're obviously, it's the Australian, New Zealand market, and you're very familiar with Avail. And the reason why the global term is on there with Avail is because it is one of the premier content management solutions around the world. Thousands of licensed users managing content at a local desktop level and in the cloud. Some of the largest clients they've got are Gensler, and these are global footprints. And the content of design, your content through design content, and BIM-MEP is being accessed right behind the firewall and able to be consumed within these projects. A workflow that you would never see. I mean, once content goes up on the web, as you know, very difficult to track where it goes. And so one of the value propositions here is developing a ability to publish to many from one database. And one of the value propositions of the hub that we'll be developing together is that there is also extended distribution opportunities. you may or may not be aware that there are actually in-application browsers of the Avail software within Revit, AutoCAD, and SketchUp. And so that begins to give you the hint of you make content once, you work with us, and we begin to distribute it through our partner network and through syndication partners. And your content is being made available within the application, within the workflow, embedded. And that is the value proposition that end users want. They are licensed users of companies like Avail. They're licensed users of BIMAP. They're licensed users of design content. Depending on the use case and the entry point, we can provide that content. One of the additional enhancements to your subscription is that we will be bringing Unify as well to the content distribution strategy. You may be familiar with Unify. Unify is like Avail, it's a content management solution, but very similar to its focus is more on the engineering, but architectural engineering go hand in hand with Avail and Unify, but they don't have any overlap. It's like Mac and Windows. You don't have both, you have one or the other. And Unify's client base is, 20% of its client base is in Australia. So we will be working towards delivering design content and BIMAP to Unify from the hub. And really this is a management of content. You really don't need to do anything other than buy into the strategy and help us build it. Some of the additional services then and offerings that we will have around this partnership will come online. We'll be presenting them to you. They'll be delivered. This is for information at this point in time. But the desktop apps, we will be delivering design content to Revit, SketchUp, and AutoCAD. We will be doing this through our partnership with EdgeWorks to deliver desktop applications to access from the Autodesk App Store, another syndication point to access content from the hub. So you can make your content once, distribution to many places. We will also be providing the offering to extend into the product tag technology, which I mentioned earlier, for you to be able to place this simple little piece of technology on your websites. And if an end user uses generic content, which by the way, many do, as many use manufacturer specific content as generic content. And the ability to allow an end user to update very simply with just placing manufacturer name, model number, classification, links back to your website really enhances the ability to take a generic piece of content and turn it into a manufacturer specific piece of content. It's very powerful for architectural. MEP, less so. MEP tends to need to be built natively because of all the connectors, electricity, performance. But it is, again, another use case where it passively can sit there and provide service to the end user community. And of course, the goal is for you to get selected. Our goal is to put it in the hands of the users at the right time when they're thinking about that particular product at that particular time. They don't want to spend too long hunting for it, searching for it. So you start to put the content into the applications of use rather than try and drive them to one particular place. And then access to the GCN from the hub. If you do have that multi-format need, you do have to build some content for a different market. Everything hangs off of the GCN and that content will go into the hub. It can go back out into the syndication portals if that is what you wish to have and wish to do. And so all of this ends up with ultimately, how do you see the value of that? So the project visibility, the ability to drive insights, the access to content, access to data. We will be bringing you a market analytics service to help you see where content goes, how it's used, where it's used, all different levels. Obviously, privacy is a big part of our thinking, and we would never infringe on that. It's all GDPR compliant, but there are many different pieces of data that we can use to be able to provide you access to the knowledge of your products are actually being used in real projects wrapped around Revit and the AutoCAD environment. And so what we wanted to do was just pause right here. This is the end of the presentation. Hopefully you can see that we, through this partnership, are extending not just the ability to build content for you, but also to syndicate it, promote it, and ultimately help you sell more product. So thank you very much.
Thanks, thanks, Mike. Well said, mate. As you guys can see, we have a strong team now, a very experienced team around our manufacturers all around the world. This is going to be a change, but a good change. What's next? Well, what's next is, well, Daniel from A2K will be in contact with you all to arrange a meeting one-on-one to talk about your maintenance going to subscription and what that means for you. So Daniel will be in contact with you in the next couple of weeks to organise that appointment with you all. Again, thank you for your time. If there's any questions, please email us. Please email them through to info@a2ktechnology.com.au. Again, thanks, Mike and Chad, for your presentation, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Thank you.